It says, for in fact the body is not one member, but many. So there are many, and he's talking about the body of Christ, and he's talking about your physical body, and he's comparing your physical body to the church or to the body of Christ. And as we looked on down here, verse 18, but now God has set members, each one of them in the body, just as He is pleased. So your position, your function in the body has been determined by God as as it pleases Him. So if it pleases Him, it ought to please us where we are, right? And so then we go on down, verse 20, but now indeed there are many members, yet one body. Verse 21, the eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of you. Again, the head to the feet, I have no need of you. So he's using the example, and he uses some a little bit preceding this, and that is, there is not one part that's more important than the other. All of the parts are important, and we use the example, you think about your little toe, which a lot of people consider that to be the least of your members. And, unless you've got on real tight shoes right now, which you shouldn't be wearing, by the way, unless you've got on tight shoes right now, you're probably not thinking about your little toe. It's probably the last thing on your mind. Depending on what kind of breakfast you had this morning, your stomach may be kind of growling a little bit. You may have your attention on that a little bit. But I tell you what, if you get up in the middle of the night and you're getting up to go get a glass of water and you catch your little toe on the coffee table, that little toe becomes the most important thing in your life right now. And I mean, you'll nurture it and protect it and grab it and give attention to it and all kinds of stuff like that. So you can't say that it's not important because it has a function. Just because it's not at the forefront, just because it's not something that's on your mind all the time, doesn't mean that it's not important. And the same thing is true where the church is concerned. There are people that have more visible giftings or equippings or I was going to say jobs in the body of Christ than other people do. But you think about this. Think about a performer. And they have this beautiful voice. So if the audio engineer doesn't show up, then they're not going to, it's not going to be, or the lighting. What about if they don't have lighting? What if they don't have the guy with the smoke cannons? What if he doesn't show up? You're not going to get the, so it's a team that puts that on. So one can't say to the other, they're not important. They all have, the truck driver, for crying out loud. You got to have one of those to get all the equipment, isn't that right? Yeah, you got to have one of those to get the equipment around and things like that. So the body of Christ is similar to this. Everybody in the church has a particular gifting and equipping. Everybody does. Well, I don't have a gift. Yes, you do. You may not have figured out what it is yet, and that's what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. We're going to be talking about how you can determine what gift that you have. Now, we find that there are 3 different places in the Bible, in the New Testament, that list gifts. We find in Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 11, we call these the ministry gifts or the pulpit gifts. These are the apostle, prophet, evangelist, pastor, and teacher. Some people refer to these as the ministry gifts. And if you'll continue, before this it said, and Jesus gave gifts unto men, apostle, prophet, evangelist, pastor, and teacher. And then as you go on reading, it says, and He did this for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. So the reason that you have apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers in the body of Christ is in order to perfect. Now, perfect means to complete, it doesn't mean without sin. It means to complete or to grow up, to mature. So in order, so if apostle, prophet, evangelist, pastors, and teachers are given to the body of Christ to perfect the body of Christ, that means would seem to me, if you're not taking advantage of those ministry gifts, then you're not going to be perfected. Doesn't it you? for the work of the ministry, which is the edifying or the building up of the body of Christ. So those are necessary. And you know, we look at the apostle job. You don't look necessarily at apostle simply means a sent one. Where this church is concerned, I would be the apostle of this church. This wasn't a group of people in Chattanooga that reached out and called us here. The Lord told us to come to Chattanooga, Tennessee and start a church. We were sent here to start a church. That's the office of an apostle. Now, am I an apostle? Well, not yet. I mean, I don't go around. I could be one day, but where this church is concerned, I am. Please don't start calling me apostle. Please don't speak up. And so you have the prophet. Prophet is a person who has a message to the body of Christ as a whole, receives the message from the Lord and delivers it to the body of Christ. And it usually has to do with direction. Sometimes it has to do with correction. But that is that, and there are prophets in the body of Christ today. There are prophets in the body of Christ today that I have great respect for and pay attention to. And those people help feed me. Those people help give me direction and kind of set our course. So it works that way where the whole church is concerned. If God is using prophets, which He is, and you're listening to the prophets, then the body will be moving in the right direction and be a lot stronger. Then there's the evangelist. Evangelist is self-explanatory. That's somebody that their equipping, their gifting is to preach the gospel. We call them traveling ministers. And typically an evangelist will have one message. Can have more than that, but typically God gives them one specific message to go around and teaching. And oftentimes with an evangelist, you have gifts of healings and that will accompany that, and some of the other gifts also. And then you have pastors and teachers. A pastor is simply a shepherd. It's the same word used as shepherd in our Bibles, the Greek word poimen. It is a shepherd. A shepherd is one that has a flock. A shepherd is one that protects the flock. Sheep don't have natural protection. They're not fast. They don't have claws. They don't have fangs. If a person is not submitted or involved with a pastor, under a pastor, there's not protection. And so what happens is you find, is oftentimes sheep will be, by the way, I didn't come up with this analogy, okay? I didn't come up with this. Jesus and the Apostle Paul did. I'm sure Jesus told the Apostle. But it's a really good analogy. And what happens is you find people that think they can do things on their own off out here. But what happens is you're out from under protection, and they become fair game for the enemy to sidetrack them, sideswipe them, and to kill, steal, and destroy. And then you have the teacher. Now, a teacher can go with any of the other gifts. Typically, it's with a pastor. Now, sometimes there are pastors that are evangelists. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But you've got to have a teacher in your congregation at some point, because if you don't have a teacher in the congregation, the people won't grow. Everybody will keep getting saved every week. And so, but once you get saved, you need to grow, and that's why you need a teacher to do that.